Life has a strange way of teaching us who we are. It doesn't do it through comfort. It does it through pressure, through moments when everything feels tight, when you feel like you're running out of breath and the walls seem to be closing in. Those are the moments that define you. You see, when God allows pressure in your life, He's not trying to destroy you. He's trying to reveal you. Diamonds don't come from easy places. They come from the darkest depths of the earth, under unimaginable pressure. And if you could talk to that diamond while it's being formed, it would probably say, "This is too much." But if it could see what it was becoming, it would understand the pressure was never the enemy, it was the process. So when you're standing in a difficult situation, when you feel like life is pressing down on you, understand that something divine is at work inside that pressure. God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't waste hardship. Every ounce of difficulty that enters your life has a purpose, and that purpose is to bring something out of you that you didn't even know was there. You can't find your real strength in comfort. You can't know who you truly are when everything's going your way. You only discover your depth when the tide turns against you. Think about it. When everything is smooth, you don't pray as hard, you don't dig as deep, you don't question what you're made of. But when life hits you, when the people you trusted walk away, when the plans you made crumble, when the doors you thought were open slam shut, that's when something inside you starts to rise. You start to ask yourself, who am I without all that? That's where growth begins. That's where faith gets tested and matured. That's where character forms. Sometimes God will shake everything in your life to show you what can't be shaken. The job may go, the relationship may end, the plans may fail, but what's real, what's true, what's divine inside you that remains? That's the gold. That's what He's after. You see, everybody wants strength, but nobody wants struggle. Everybody prays for growth, but nobody wants growing pains. Everybody says, "Lord, use me." But when the molding begins, we say, "Lord, this hurts." But you can't get shaped without pressure. You can't reach your calling if you're still clinging to your comfort. Let me tell you, there's a version of you that can't emerge until everything safe is stripped away. When God allows discomfort, He's calling that version forward. The old you, the one that depended on everything being easy, can't walk into what's next. The pressure is pruning you. It's cutting away what can't grow with you. Sometimes what you call pain is really the sound of your old self breaking off. Look back at your life. Every time you thought you were being broken, you were actually being built. Every time something ended, something else was being prepared. You didn't see it then, but when you look back, you realize those moments of pressure, those moments when you felt forgotten, they became the chapters where you found your purpose. The strength you carry today didn't come from applause. It came from endurance. Pressure will do two things. It'll either crush you or it'll create you. The difference lies in your perspective. You can complain about the fire or you can let it refine you. You can resist the struggle or you can rise through it. The question isn't, why is this happening to me? The real question is, what is this shaping in me? When you ask that, you stop being a victim of your situation and start becoming a student of it. And maybe that's what God is waiting for, not your frustration, not your fear, but your understanding. Maybe He's saying, I put you in this pressure not because I want to break you, but because I'm trusting you to grow. You've got to shift your thinking from asterisk why me, asterisk to asterisk try me. Asterisk because when you start believing that even in the worst moments, God is doing something intentional, you'll stop running from the fire and start walking through it with peace. You see, real faith isn't proven in your comfort zone. It's proven when your back's against the wall and you've got every reason to quit, but you don't. You keep standing, you keep believing, you keep pushing. That's when heaven looks at you and says, "Now you're ready?" Because the same pressure that tried to crush you became the force that pushed you closer to your purpose. So if you're under pressure right now, don't despise it, don't run from it, embrace it. Because one day, when you're standing on the other side of it, you'll look back and realize that the pressure wasn't punishment, it was promotion. That difficult situation wasn't meant to defeat you, it was meant to define you. And if you can hold on through the breaking, you'll walk out shining, refined, and stronger than ever. You know, sometimes the hardest moments in life aren't when things fall apart, but when heaven goes quiet, when you've prayed, you've cried, you've done everything you know how to do, and still nothing. That silence can feel heavier than the pain itself. You start to wonder, did God forget me? Did my prayers get lost somewhere in the sky? But that silence, that space between what you prayed for and what you see, is not a sign of absence. It's a sign of trust. It means God's working even when you can't hear Him. Think about this. When you were in school and it was time for a test, the teacher didn't talk. The silence didn't mean the teacher left. The silence meant the teacher was watching to see what you'd learned. That's how God's silence works. It's not punishment, it's preparation. It's the moment when everything you've been taught, everything you've believed, everything you've prayed about has to become real inside you. You've got to act on it even when you don't feel it. Silence has a purpose. It stretches your faith, sharpens your spirit, and deepens your relationship with God in ways comfort never could. Because when He's silent, you start listening differently. You start paying attention to the little things, the moments you used to overlook. Maybe the answer isn't in the thunder, maybe it's in the whisper. But you can't hear a whisper if you're too busy complaining about the noise that's missing. Sometimes God has to quiet everything around you just to help you hear what's inside you. There are people who think silence means abandonment, but silence is often the greatest form of intimacy. When you've known someone long enough, you don't need words to feel their presence. You can sit in the same room in total silence and still feel connected. That's what faith is like. It's learning to sit in that silence and know asterisk, He's still here. Asterisk, even when I can't feel Him, He's here. Even when I can't hear Him, He's moving. Even when I don't understand it, He's working behind the scenes, rearranging, redirecting, rebuilding what I thought was lost. You see, sometimes God's silence is not Him ignoring your prayer, it's Him protecting the timing. Because if He gave you everything you asked for when you asked for it, you might not be ready to carry it. Some blessings require maturity. Some breakthroughs require foundation. And if He gave you that door too early, it could crush you instead of elevate you. So He waits, and while He waits, He builds you. But that waiting, that silence, it can hurt. It can make you doubt. You see other people getting their answers. You see doors opening for them, and you start to think maybe something's wrong with you. But what you don't see is what's being built in you. Because when the silence ends, when that answer finally arrives, it'll meet a version of you that's strong enough to hold it. That's why you can't let silence make you give up. You've got to keep walking even when you don't hear footsteps beside you. You've got to keep trusting even when there's no echo to your prayer. There's a quiet power in patience, in stillness, in waiting with faith. Because that's when your roots grow deep. Trees don't make noise when they grow, they just stand still and trust the process. You might not see progress every day, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. God's silence is not His rejection, it's His construction zone. He's building something that will make sense one day. When I look back at the times in my life when I thought God was silent, I realize now He was speaking the loudest, just not in the way I expected. He was closing the wrong doors. He was protecting me from what I thought I wanted. He was letting me feel empty so I could learn that my worth wasn't tied to things, people, or places. That kind of silence changes you. It humbles you. It teaches you that faith isn't about noise or signs, it's about knowing without seeing. So, if you're in that quiet season right now, where prayers go unanswered and nights feel long, don't lose heart. Don't mistake God's stillness for absence. When He's quiet, it's because He's up to something. The artist doesn't explain the painting before it's finished. The author doesn't reveal the ending in the middle of the story. God's silence is the space between setup and revelation. It's not the end, it's the middle. You may not hear His voice, but you're still in His hands. You may not see His plan, but you're still in His purpose. That's why faith matters most when it's hardest to hold. Because the silence that frustrates you now will one day become the testimony that strengthens someone else. You'll be able to look back and say, I didn't understand it then, but now I see what He was doing. So don't let the silence break your faith. Let it build it. When God is quiet, it's because He trusts you enough to walk by what you know, not just by what you hear. Keep your heart open. Keep your hope alive. The silence is not forever. It's just the sound of heaven preparing your next season. There comes a time in every person's life when you feel like you've been broken beyond repair. The kind of breaking that makes you question everything, your strength, your purpose, even your faith. You sit there with tears you can't explain, trying to hold yourself together, and it feels like nothing you do is enough. You try to smile, but the pieces inside of you don't fit anymore, and it's easy to think that when you're broken, it's over. That when you've lost too much, there's no way back. But what if being broken isn't the end? What if it's the beginning of something you can't yet see? You see, we live in a world that tells us to hide our cracks, to cover up our scars, to pretend like everything's okay. But every person you admire, every soul that walks with wisdom, carries scars. Those scars are not signs of weakness, they're evidence of survival. Brokenness doesn't mean you failed, it means you've lived. It means you've been through battles that tried to destroy you but didn't, and in that breaking, something sacred happens. You begin to see what truly matters. You begin to see who you are without the masks, without the noise, without the applause. When something breaks in your life, a relationship, a dream, your confidence, your first instinct is to fix it, to rush, to glue the pieces back together. But sometimes God doesn't want you to fix it. He wants to rebuild it, because when you fix it, it's still fragile, but when He rebuilds it, it becomes unshakable. You've got to let Him break what needs to be broken, so He can create something stronger in its place. Think about a seed. Before it becomes a tree, it has to break. It has to lose its shape, its comfort, its identity. That breaking doesn't mean death, it means transformation. The same goes for you. When everything in you feels like it's falling apart, maybe what's really happening is that life is pushing you out of the shell that once kept you safe, but now keeps you small. Growth always starts with breaking. The soil must crack, the shell must split, the comfort must end. That's how new life begins, and I know it's not easy. The pain feels personal. You start asking questions like, why me? Why now? Haven't I been through enough? But that's the thing, the breaking never comes to destroy you. It comes to release you. You can't step into your purpose carrying everything that once held you. Some things have to shatter so that truth can shine through the gaps. Some things have to end so that your spirit can breathe again. When life breaks you, don't rush to be whole again too quickly. Sit in that space. Feel what you need to feel, because it's in that quiet, broken space that you hear the voice of God most clearly. When all the noise is stripped away, when your pride and plans are gone, you finally become still enough to hear him whisper, "I'm still here. I never left." That's when you realize you're not broken, you're being rebuilt. And maybe the very thing that broke you is what will become your testimony. Maybe the pain that shattered your confidence will be the story that gives someone else the courage to keep going. You see, when you let God rebuild you, He doesn't put you back the same way. He doesn't erase the cracks, He fills them with grace. He takes what was meant to destroy you and turns it into something beautiful. There's a kind of strength that only comes from breaking. There's a kind of peace that only comes from surviving what should have taken you out. You can't skip the breaking if you want the blessing. It's the process that refines you. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the nights you thought would never end were actually the nights that taught you how to pray, how to stand, how to believe when nothing made sense. You'll look at the person you've become and think, if it hadn't broken, I'd still be who I used to be. So if you're in that season right now, if you feel shattered, if you feel forgotten, understand this. Brokenness is not the end of your story. It's the birthplace of your becoming. The cracks you see as flaws are the very spaces where light enters your life. Let it in. Don't hide from it. Don't rush to fix it. Let it shape you. Let it strengthen you. Because there will come a day when what hurt you will no longer hold you. What broke you will no longer define you. You'll walk in peace, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger through the breaking. And when you rise from that, you'll speak with a different kind of power. You won't have to prove anything. Your presence will carry the weight of everything you've overcome. People will look at you and wonder how you survived. And you'll smile because you'll know it wasn't the breaking that destroyed you. It was the breaking that built you. There's a moment that comes in every storm when you realize you can't control it anymore. You've done everything you can. You've fought, prayed, planned, and pushed. But the winds keep blowing, the waves keep rising, and you're standing there exhausted, trying to hold it all together. That's the moment when surrender becomes your only strength. Not giving up. No, surrendering. There's a difference. Giving up says, I quit. Surrender says, God, I trust you more than I trust me. That's power. That's faith. That's the place where transformation begins. We live in a world that teaches us to fight for control, to plan every step, to manage every outcome. But life, real life, doesn't work that way. Life will humble you. It'll bring you to your knees and remind you that no matter how strong you are, you're not in charge of everything. And sometimes that's exactly what you need, because as long as you're gripping too tightly, there's no room for God to move. When you finally loosen that grip, when you finally exhale and say, all right, I'm done fighting this my way, that's when something shifts. That's when peace starts to flow in, even before the storm ends. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you stop trying to carry what was never yours to carry. It's a spiritual release. You stop forcing what isn't fitting. Stop chasing what's not returning. Stop holding on to what's already left. And the moment you do that, life starts to breathe again. Your mind quiets. Your heart steadies. You start to see things differently. Not because they changed, but because you did. You see, transformation doesn't come from control. It comes from letting go. It comes from trusting that there's a higher wisdom orchestrating your steps. And that's hard, I know, because surrender feels risky. It feels like weakness. It feels like you're losing something. But in truth, surrender is strength disguised as softness. It's power wrapped in peace. When you surrender, you're not saying you don't care anymore. You're saying, I care enough to trust the process. Some of the most powerful moments in life are born from surrender. When everything you've tried has failed and you finally whisper, "God, I can't, but you can," something happens. The situation may not change overnight, but you do. The anxiety starts to lift. The fear begins to fade. You stop walking by sight and start walking by faith. That's transformation. That's when you begin to experience a kind of strength that isn't loud or proud. It's calm, confident, unshaken. There's a story I once heard about a person who was drowning. A rescuer dove in to save them, but instead of reaching right away, he waited. He watched as the person flailed, fought, and struggled. When they finally stopped resisting, when their energy ran out and they went limp, when he reached in and pulled them out. Because as long as they were fighting, he couldn't save them without risking both their lives. The same is true with us. As long as we're fighting, trying to control what we don't understand, God can't step in fully. But the moment we surrender, he moves, he rescues, he restores. The beauty of surrender is that it doesn't just change what happens around you. It changes who you become within it. It softens the heart that was hardened by pain. It opens the hands that were clenched in fear. It clears the mind that was clouded by worry. When you surrender, you begin to live lighter, freer, more in tune with grace. You start realizing that the things you thought you needed were never the key to peace. The key was trust all along, and I get it. It's not easy to let go. You've held that dream, that plan, that person, that outcome for so long. But sometimes what you're holding on to is the very thing keeping you from what's meant for you. Sometimes God can't bless your hands because they're too full of what he's asking you to release. So when he says, "let go," he's not taking something from you. He's making room to give you something better. There's freedom in saying, "I don't have to have it all figured out." There's peace in saying, "I don't need to know what's next. I just need to trust the one who does." That's when life starts to unfold differently. Doors you couldn't open begin to unlock. People you thought were gone return in healthier ways, or better ones appear. Opportunities find you not because you forced them, but because you were finally aligned enough to receive them. Surrender turns chaos into clarity. It doesn't mean the storm stops. It means you stop fearing the storm. You start realizing that even in the middle of it, you're held, you're guided, and you're safe. And that's the kind of peace no success, no control, no human power can give. It's divine. So maybe right now, what God wants from you isn't another plan, another fight, another argument, another sleepless night trying to figure it out. Maybe he just wants your yes, your surrender, your trust that even in silence he's speaking. Even in confusion, he's directing. Even in delay, he's designing something greater than you imagined. So if you've been fighting too long, tired of trying to control what keeps slipping through your fingers, take a deep breath right now. Loosen your grip. Say, "God, I surrender this." Let it go. Let him take it from here. Because the moment you do, you'll realize the weight you were carrying was never yours in the first place. If this message finds you in that place, if you're ready to stop fighting and start trusting, drop "I surrender" in the comments. Because sometimes the greatest victory doesn't come from holding on. It comes from letting go. Struggle has a strange way of showing up uninvited, doesn't it? You don't plan for it. You don't ask for it. It just finds you. It walks into your life at the worst time, sits itself down, and refuses to leave. And in that moment, you start to wonder, why me? But what if struggle isn't a curse? What if it's a sacred classroom? What if hidden inside that struggle, there's something divine waiting to be discovered, something that can only be revealed through pressure, pain, and persistence. You see, struggle exposes strength you didn't know you had. It strips away the easy parts of life and forces you to reach deep within yourself. When everything around you feels heavy, when the people you counted on disappear, when life throws you to the ground, that's when your spirit starts speaking. That's when your character begins to grow roots. You don't learn endurance when everything is smooth. You learn it when the storm won't stop and you're still standing. Think about it, the strongest trees don't grow in comfortable weather. They grow in the windiest places. It's the struggle against the wind that forces them to dig deeper, to anchor stronger, to hold tighter. The same applies to you. Every challenge, every loss, every tear has been strengthening your roots. You may not feel it right now, but your struggle is giving you stability. Without that resistance, you'd be fragile. You'd break under the first sign of pressure, but with it, you become unshakable. The truth is, we all want blessings, but few of us want the process that prepares us for them. We pray for strength, but strength only comes when life gives you something heavy to carry. We pray for faith, but faith grows when you can't see the path ahead. We pray for courage, but courage is born in fear. The very thing you're asking God to remove might be the very thing He's using to answer your prayer. You see, struggle is not punishment, it's preparation. It's the gym where your soul trains. It's where your patience stretches, your character forms, and your trust deepens. You might think you're breaking down, but what's really happening is that you're building up. You're being equipped for the next chapter. You're being molded into someone who can handle the weight of destiny. When life hits you, don't rush to escape it. Don't run from the pain. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Because every struggle comes with a lesson. Sometimes it teaches you resilience. Sometimes it teaches you humility. Sometimes it teaches you to let go. But it always teaches. You just have to be willing to listen. I've learned that struggle also reveals people who's really with you and who's only around when things are easy. Some folks are seasonal, some are situational, and some are spiritual. They're assigned to your life for purpose, not comfort. When struggle comes, it removes the ones who can't handle your process, and it leaves you with the ones who can walk with you through the fire. That's not loss, that's alignment. And here's something powerful. Your struggle doesn't just shape you, it inspires others. Someone is watching you go through that battle and thinking, if they can stand through that, maybe I can too. Your survival becomes someone else's strength. So even when you're tired, even when you're unsure, understand that your perseverance carries purpose beyond you. You're not just enduring for yourself. You're lighting a path for someone who's walking behind you. Struggle also has a way of clarifying what truly matters. When you're stripped of comfort, you start seeing life differently. The things you once thought you needed don't matter as much anymore. You realize that peace is more valuable than possessions. Faith is stronger than fear. And love, real love, shows up when the world walks out. Struggle gives you perspective. It brings you face to face with truth. It teaches you that success isn't about never falling, it's about rising every time you do. So don't resent your struggle. Don't let it convince you that you're cursed or forgotten. It's shaping you. It's training you. It's revealing who you really are. Every scar, every setback, every sleepless night, it's all adding something to you. Strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming what you thought you couldn't. And if you keep walking, even through the fire, you'll realize that the struggle didn't destroy you, it defined you. One day you'll look back and understand that the very thing you thought would break you was the thing that made you. You'll realize that the tears you cried watered the soil of your destiny. You'll stand taller, speak wiser, love deeper, not because life got easier, but because you became stronger. The struggle wasn't sent to stop you. It was sent to stretch you, so if you're in the middle of your struggle right now, don't lose heart, don't give up. This isn't where your story ends, it's where your strength begins. Hold your head high, even with tears in your eyes, and keep moving forward. Because when the dust settles, you'll see that every challenge, every battle, every silent night was preparing you for a victory greater than you imagined. If you're still standing, even after everything that tried to break you, drop a "still standing" in the comments. Because that's what struggle does. It may bend you, but it can't break what God has already built inside you.